Now in today's video, we're going to take a look at the ultimate team ahead of game week 1. This has pretty much been built looking at all the content creators' teams and pretty much putting everybody together to build the super experts team ahead of game week 1. Now, before we dive into today's video, a big shout out has to go to Golden Goal Fantasy Football. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description, but he pretty much gave me the inspiration to create something very similar to what he did in his video and do it in my video. So that is pretty much where this inspiration has come from. Like I said, all the content creators that have been posting their drafts, we pretty much looked at their teams and built basically this team, which is a super team. It's actually a really good team as well, so maybe the content creators are onto something. Of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as we're trying to hit 16,000 subscribers before the start of the new Premier League season, and it would be absolutely stupendous if we could hit that goal. Let's dive into our goalkeepers first then. Sanchez and Kelleher were pretty much two goalkeepers that, regardless of the draft, you'd probably find both of them in, or at least one of them anyway. Sanchez is definitely becoming, I would say, a very popular goalkeeper asset, and that makes complete sense given Chelsea's strong start to the season, given his price point at 5 million. And I think the defenders don't offer too much in terms of defensive contributions. And I think with Cucurella being at that 6 million price point, it's probably priced him out of most people's teams, with better 6 million or 5.5 million assets becoming available. So everybody's going for Sanchez to get their way into that Chelsea defence. If you've got Colwell as well, saw that in FPL Fran's draft that he released. So maybe Colwell might be that option, but Sanchez for me right now, and with a lot of content creators, feels like the go-to option. If they're not looking at Sanchez in goal, then they are going to be selecting Kelleher from Brentford at 4.5 million. I don't mind Kelleher. I don't think he's the best 4.5 though. There's been a hell of a lot of change going off at Brentford over the course of this summer. I'm just a little bit unsure what they're actually going to look like this season. Are they going to be a decent team? Are they still going to be, one of those teams that are punching above their weights? Or are they going to be right down there fighting for their lives, not keeping too many clean sheets? Because their expected goals conceded numbers last season weren't even that great anyway. Let's head into the defence then. Virgil van Dijk, I 100% get. He's in one of my drafts as well. Bournemouth at home. The Liverpool fixture is a little bit hit and miss, but if you look at the 11-fire numbers as well over the opening 6 game weeks, their expected goals conceded numbers are great. Of course, has that threat from set pieces, and as well isn't too bad with the DEFCON contributions. Now, Van de Ven, I think I've seen him in a lot more bench boost teams rather than just regular teams, but I don't really get this one as a pick at that 4.5 million price point. I think the first fixture is great, but what's to say Spurs aren't going to be, a worse defence this season, or at least a little bit better? It's still not great though from the position they were standing in last year, which was 17th, by the way, in the XG conceded charts. So, Thomas Frank's surely going to make them better, but how much better? Worth investing in? I'm not 100% sure that is going to be the case. So I don't like Spurs defenders as a whole or at any price point, to be honest. Porro hasn't made it into any of my drafts yet. Van de Ven hasn't made it into any of my drafts either. Obviously, a Dogie out injured. So, yeah, I'm just not backing the Spurs defence. I definitely think they'll be better. But if you look at Thomas Frank's numbers, especially Brentford's numbers over the past 2 seasons as well, their XG conceded hasn't been anything amazing or to shout home about. So, I don't know whether or not he's going to improve this Spurs side massively. That is worth my investment personally anyway. Next up is going to be Murillo. Obviously, a DEFCON merchant. We all know that by now. Forest great fixtures, so this one again makes complete sense from all kind of the content creators selecting this one. Then the other 2 defenders as well, very popular. Anderson is going to be probably one of the best assets at 4.5 million in terms of defence, not only because Fulham aren't a bad defence. I know they only kept 5 clean sheets last year, but if you look at their XG conceded numbers, were pretty steady across the board as well. His DEFCON numbers were great last season, so again I think at 4.5 he's going to be a very popular option. Same with Esteve as well, who has signed a new contract with Burnley. Obviously, they came into the league with the best defensive record from the Championship. Again, you feel like he might be one of those that just ticks along with those defensive contribution numbers. So overall, I probably like maybe 4 out of the 5 centre-backs. I'm obviously a big fan of Sanchez, so I don't mind the defence, to be honest. I think maybe there's 1 or 2 adjustments you could make. But overall, it's still a pretty strong defence to start off this draft. Now heading into the midfield, and this is the exact midfield I posted in my most recent draft and got absolutely slammed for it. Genuinely got absolutely slammed for it. Now I'd say the first 4 players here have been pretty template for about a week, especially among content creators. But Bruno Fernandes, I'm now starting to see sprinkle in some drafts as well. Fran, Golden Goal, FPL, Andy as well has got the literally all the big accounts are starting to shift towards Bruno Fernandes, and I do think that is going to become a trend that we see the closer and closer we get to the deadline, purely because of his DEFCON contributions and purely because of captaincy as well. Now, that is one of the big things that I've noticed with Bruno Fernandes. A lot of people looking at game week 3 and game week 7, where it's a little bit up in the air. Bruno offers a really, really good solution where he plays against a newly promoted side. So I think that is why he's going to start to appear in a lot more people's drafts. If you look as well at the point scoring ability that he had last year, if DEFCON was in the game, over 55% of the games he played, he would have scored 4 or more points. Like I said, he's going to become a very, very consistent asset this season with DEFCON now added to the game. Elliot Anderson as well was an absolute beast. I think it was 52% of the games last year. If DEFCON was in, he would have scored 4 or more points. So again, 5.5 million. Forest strong fixtures to start the season. Feels like pretty much a no-brainer. Salah, in terms of captaincy as well, is going to be the captain over I would say probably like 7 to 8 times over the opening 10 game week. So again, there's very good reason to go with Mohamed Salah, and I think a lot of content creators are realising that. Same goes with Cole Palmer as well. He also alternates extremely nicely with Salah in terms of that captaincy option. So again, that is why people are obviously going down that route with the Salah and Palmer double up. And I just think it's a more accessible way to play the game as well, because Haaland just isn't really appearing in too many content creators' drafts. And I think there's very good reason for that. It's just a difficult price point for him to be at and to kind of build a decent team that contains both Mohamed Salah and Erling Haaland. And when you put it down to it, when you're spending those big bucks on those players, the main reason is going to be the captaincy appeal. And if the captaincy appeal isn't there with Erling Haaland, maybe only in game week 3 that it really looks like he's clear, game week 6 against Burnley, but if most of the time you can cover him with like Salah, Palmer and Bruno, why spend that money in an area that he might not do as well like he did last season? So I think that kind of uncertainty from last season, the price point and captaincy has obviously put a lot of content creators off going for Bruno Fernandes, for Erling Haaland. But let me know, have you managed to build a decent draft in the comment section that contains Haaland? I'm still tinkering around with it, but I just can't find one that I'm overly happy with right now. I just think the midfield this year absolutely stacked. One to potentially note as well is Ndai's getting a little bit of interest from Italy. That potentially might escalate over the next couple of days, so maybe one to monitor there if he's in your draft. And obviously if we get rumours that he's going to be going, probably going to see him start to leave a lot of content creators teams as well. Before we head into the forward section then, if of course you want to get your team rated by AI, I will leave a link to Fantasy Football Hub's amazing website in the description so you can go and get that. My latest draft picked up a 97% rating, so I want to see if anybody can manage to beat that in the comment section. So get your teams sent into this tool. All you have to do is send in a screenshot, boom, it's done. It gives you the rating instantly. Let me know the score you get in the comment section. I got 97. Let's see if anybody can beat that. And finally, completing the lineup is going to be Watkins, Strand Larson, and Mark Gui. I think it's pronounced Gui. We could be here all day trying to pronounce his name, but we're going to go with Mark for this one. So Mark obviously has secured now his move to Sunderland, so I think that makes him the best 4.5 million in the game. Sunderland are paying all of his wages as well, which to me suggests that he's going to see some playing time and not just going to be a complete dud. So maybe it is going to be a couple 1-2 pointers off the bench. Maybe he might start the occasional game, but for 4.5 million, it's better than a non-playing asset, especially within that position. Then we've got Ollie Watkins. Now, he is featuring a lot in people's drafts, and for very good reason. The Villa fixtures are immense. Genuinely, great set of fixtures to start the season. I've obviously been banging on about it. Watkins as well feels very, very nailed, having a great pre-season, which of course is going to elevate him as a potential option. And I just think he's at a nice price point where if it doesn't work out with Watkins or Goalkeeper doesn't look good at the start of the season, you've got Etikike at 8.5, then you've got a whole host of players at 7.5, and after you've given Watkins a few weeks, those players will start to come into some better fixtures as well. I'm thinking of the likes of Mateta. We might have a better understanding of where Dominic Solanke is in terms of his fitness as well. So I think, you know, going for Watkins makes complete sense because it gives you that ability to just adjust and find the right players below him. And of course, if Isak stays at Newcastle and starts to look good as well, you're only, you know, a little bit of way or movement away from being able to get Alexander Isak as well. So it feels like the perfect price point for me of Watkins. And I think a lot of content creators do agree with that as well. The other forward was very, very split. Strand Larsen was in probably just the most, but literally Evan Nielsen, Mateta I've seen in some, Chris Wood appeared in a few as well, but unfortunately we didn't have the budget to go and get a 7.5 million striker with this one, so it was the 6.5, and the most selected that I could see from the content creators drafts was Strand Larsen. I think Strand Larsen could be a great player this season, especially if he manages to get himself penalties. He is a player that I've been kind of having a look around with. Once you can get round that match day 1 fixture against City, you really do delve into some good fixtures for Wolves. Of course, the only concern is the projected goal numbers from the 11-5 model. It's not looking too great over the opening 6 for Wolves. And they weren't a overly prolific side as well last season, and their expected goals weren't too great. So we'd obviously have to see a little bit of an improvement, but if you're looking for a talisman at 6.5 million, he could be a fantastic player. But it seems like a lot of content creators a little bit unsure what they want to do right now with that second striker spot. I think the first is confirmed to be Watkins. That's going to be the consensus. And probably your third is going to be Mark Gui. Then it's just that second one. Do you go for a 7.5? Obviously, you've got Solanke, Wood, Mateta all coming in, João Pedro as well. Or do you go for a 6.5 or a 7 in Evan Nielsen, Strand Larsen, or Welbeck? That is where the big debate is currently rumbling on, that second striker position. It feels very, very open and very, very fluid at the moment. I think personally there might be a little bit of a trend of people moving to a potential 4-5-1 with defensive contributions. We're seeing that with a lot of the AI models that of course have come out. We're now seeing them kind of suggest that that is going to be the optimal play or the optimal start for this season. In terms of chip strategy as well with this team, you could very easily go for a bench boost in game week 1 if you did want to. Obviously, if you found out Gui was at least going to be on the bench, Esteve would play, Kelleher will play, and Anderson will play. So if you could maybe get like 10 to 12 off this, you wouldn't be laughing too. You know, it's a decent, steady little bench boost. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing as we're trying to hit 16k subscribers. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 1.